As the weather's better today, nice and warm, a little bit breezy, so I apologise for any wind noise. Decided to come out and try a little drawing exercise out here in the same way as you did with Frank last week. So I'm in Lockerbie. I parked at the cemetery car park by the visitor centre and have walked about 15-20 minutes round the edge of the plantations, and it opens up to this lovely view. I think we've got Queensbury over there in the distance, and then that's the road to Dumfries, and it's this lovely wide open expanse and a barley field in front and the hills back there. So when you first look at the view, it can be quite inspiring. You have this real urge to just get your paints out and just start slapping paint around, and try and capture the whole thing and all the colours and all the details and bits and bobs. The only problem with that is that 9 times out of 10 you can be quite dissatisfied with the results. All the colours run and make brown, or you get the proportions wrong, or you start too high up or start too low down, and it can leave you feeling a bit despondent and could even put you off, and you close the book and forget that and go and do something else. So what I'm proposing is something to sort of simplify the whole process and slow you down and start thinking about what really is important in your drawing, the light and shade and the shapes and whatnot. And it just helps to make a strong design. So I'm not trying to scare you by talking about composition, but having a strong design will help you if you want to develop the ideas further and make a nice painting. So if we look at this view just now, there's some nice features. Let's see if we can close in a little bit there. And my eye is kind of drawn immediately to this sort of lumpy shapes of the line of the hills there. And that's what I quite like. There's also, can't quite see it, but there's a few little buildings, some chimneys, whatnot, but there's a lot of information there, and I don't think I'll be able to draw the whole lot. So let's have a look. So looking a bit closer there, that's the sort of view I'm interested in. Now you can do this with your phones when you're out and about, perhaps on your daily walk, or a phone can be a useful tool for painting, not just from taking photos but for cropping things down, for changing from colour to black and white, which helps you get an idea of tone and shade and whatnot. So, got a little bit of a closer view there of the bit I'm interested in, and the next phase is to make a tonal drawing of it, to give ourselves more information. It's a bit like putting together a little road map almost, so you know where the darkest darks are and where the lightest lights are and the main features, and that helps to build a strong design or composition, and it helps you when you're coming to make a colour picture of it. Doesn't matter what medium, whether that's watercolour, acrylic or pen and ink or anything, it just helps to make a stronger drawing or painting when you've thought about the design. Some people are lucky, I guess, that they can perhaps draw straight off the back and have a really successful picture, but for most people it's a bit like making pancakes, and the first one ends up being a sticky blob in the middle of the pan, and then the next couple get better and better. So this is the same sort of process. You do all your figuring out, and then it helps you to be successful. Right, so I'm going to flip the camera around and we'll start drawing.
Right, so I've got 6 thumbnail sketches there. You don't have to do 6, you can do as many as you want to, all sorts of different sizes. And so let's just pull the camera up a wee bit so you can see generally, perhaps let's let that come back into focus. So I'm sort of interested in that area, oops, pardon me, that area straight ahead. You can see there's a big tree there in the way. Right, so here's my page of thumbnail sketches, and looking at the view again there. It's a little bit low down because I'm on a fence post, but it's generally that area there where there's the most difference in the hillside. So looking at my pictures again, the ones that I'm more interested in are these rectangular ones here. So it's sort of this sort of area here. This tree I haven't drawn because it's way too big, so I've left that out, and I've just focused on the little house, the tree and the hill line. So from here we need a bit more information because that's not telling us much about tones and shades. So the next thing to do is to do a larger tonal drawing. The main one that applies to composition and design is this idea of the rule of thirds. I mean, I don't stick very closely to rules and stuff. I generally do what feels right to me, but there is a couple of useful little tips. And so when you look at your rectangle or your square, imagine breaking that up into thirds, horizontally and vertically. Oops, that's not very good. I'm not very good at maths anyway. But right, there we go. And the idea is, at the point where these axes cross, so here, oh, I've moved that there and there, is where you're going to have the more visually pleasing composition. It's just the way our eyes work and how they're drawn to things in painting. So if you think to yourself about paintings you really like, and you look at it from this sort of critical point of view, applying the rule of thirds, you'll probably find that the things of most interest are on the point where these axes intersect. Also, a stronger composition is one where you don't place something right slap bang in the centre. That doesn't tend to work. But so if it's slightly off centre, so I've placed the cottage over here and the tree over here, that works better because it gives your eye a chance to move around the whole picture, moving from place to place, and that's what you want. That's what you ideally want to happen. So I also have got to put in a few more of these lines up here. There's some bushes and whatnot in the distance there, but I'm not going to make those a big feature because obviously I've said about this central part of the picture. And then we've got a line of trees or a hedge or whatnot coming across there. And the thing that I want to draw the eye up to is this point on the hill line. So it's about round about there. So I'm using this tree as the guide. And I'm moving up to here. And then I'm going to try and draw there we go. That's the hill line there. And then there's this odd feature here, which I think is literally just trees. Goes off away over there. Actually, this is a bit more lumpy bumpy, must be gorse or whatnot on the top. And over there. So I'm quite happy with that as a design because what's happening is her eye is looking here, looks over here, through the centre and over here. And all I have to do now is just add in a bit more texture in terms of the different tones. This tree is actually one of the darkest elements. So I'm going to start with a mid-tone in a sauce, and then I can see that the darkest area is down here towards the trunk, and it sort of in patches through the leaves. You can see here that this is in a middle distance, and this stuff is a sort of mid-tone, and then similar sort of tone for these lines of there. And there's all sorts of little bits and bobs of stuff over here. Now, because the time of day, early afternoon, sun's very high, so there's not much going on in the sky. It's quite a bright light blue, so the land is, we know, is darker than the sky. So let's get a bit of a idea of that, and I'm just going to do this side shading here, cross hatching, using the side of it. Just under here it's slightly darker because that's a different, so if I try and get a different idea of a different texture here by using the side. This field here is actually quite a vibrant bright green, so I'm going to leave that quite bright. Here is a mid-tone again, so if you change the angle of your of your pen or your pencil, then the eye starts to travel with you. Now this is a very bright yellow, so that's always going to be a very bright thing. And then another bit of a darker tone in this field here. And that line there is quite dark. But the darkest bit is this little corner here, actually. Right, so I'm quite happy with that because that gives me quite a lot of the information that I want. And I've simplified it right down. I've left out quite a lot of trees. I've left out quite a lot of hedges, quite a lot of walls. There's actually a massive tree. If I was doing this completely accurately, there'd be a massive tree here. And also there would be sort of a more detailed stalks of barley and whatnot here. So have a go. Hopefully that will take you through how to build a strong design. But the point is here is that most people don't get it first time. So you're just going to have to do lots, keep turning the page, keep drawing little squares, and then when you find one that you're really happy with, then try the tonal drawing like this. And then after you've done this tonal drawing, maybe you want to experiment with a bit of charcoal or pen and ink or felt tips, even anything that's in your kit that that you like the feel of, that you like the texture of. And from here we're going to take this back home and think about colour.